Hi guys, it's Epic Tales back in the building, and today I'm going to be reviewing Blood Song. Now this one has been a long time coming, and it's one I've been excited to do because I have a lot of ideas on how I want to communicate why this book is such a good book. But before we get into that, you already know what it is. Let's start with an animation trailer.
Valen, do you remember the motto I taught you? Our family creed?
Yes, my lord.
Tell me.
Loyalty is our strength.
Remember it. Remember that you are my son, that I want you to stay here. In this place, you will learn many things and become a brother of the 6th Order. You will always be my son, and you will honor my wishes. Liar! Your presence here was a symbol of the Battle Lord's devotion to the faith and the realm. But he is Battle Lord no longer and wishes his son return to him. The Battle Lord has no son, and I have no father. My place is here.
Once there was 7.
Now, as far as I'm concerned, I think this book is quite special. One of the reasons it's so special is because Anthony Ryan has such good character work. Something that Anthony Ryan does very well is that, unlike other writers that basically delve into the interiority of what these characters are thinking and their thought process, he makes use of deliberate action. Deliberate action that makes a point very clear about the character, and he does it in such a powerful way because these characters end up being very colorful. The conflicts with self that Valen experiences are so realistically done and so relatable because you're so engrossed in this character, and while you're reading it you feel like you are Valen going through these things. So there's always this personal touch to what Valen is going through. So in the book there are two major POVs. One belongs to Valen and the other Veneer. Valen's POV is from the third perspective, and that is where a lot of the character work is done. Valen's perspective felt like it was done in free form, just writing as the character led him to write, and it was very much balanced by Veneer's perspective, which is first person, and I feel like grounded the story and connected the plots, like made everything that was happening move in a direction. Even if it's from Valen's POV, we are being told this story, the side characters are also so well developed. It's easy to remember who they are. You don't have to like flip back a couple pages to like, who is this guy again? I cared about what happened to them. So when the main character had epic moments where he did things that only he could do because he was the protagonist of a fantasy novel, it felt very, very organic. In terms of his prose, at the end of the first book, you get a sense that he's figuring it out. Every word and every sentence felt very intentionally placed, and his use of compound sentences is very, very efficient, so it's not difficult to understand what you're reading as you're reading it. So I'll be honest with you, before I read this book, a lot of people were telling me,
just read the first book, don't read the rest. The first book can be read like a standalone, the other books aren't worth it.
But I thought that was unfair because the quality of the writing itself didn't change. There's a very specific reason why I feel that people might have felt that. The reader part of my mind thinks about it in a certain way, and the writer part of my mind thinks about it in a little bit of a different way. Maybe if they had a conversation, you would understand what is going on a little bit more. Hi, I'm the reader part of Epic's brain. Hi, I'm the writer part of Epic's brain. Cool. What do you think about the Raven Shadow Trilogy? Well, the Raven Shadow Trilogy was one of my favorite reads last year, but the way book 1 was written was just so much more engaging, so much more focused. But book 2 and book 3 a little bit shaky for me. What do you mean the way book 1 was written? The only difference was that he introduced more POVs and he used those POVs to do world building. Like book 1 didn't have much world building, so it was necessary for him to do that. I can see where you're coming from when you say there wasn't much world building in book 1 and how he was using the POV characters to build the world, but by introducing so many more POVs, I just got less of what I wanted, less of what made me love the series. So were there like any characters that you say wasn't done well, or POVs that you thought were just like kind of unnecessary? Well, no, because the characters that were introduced were still very engaging and very interesting, and the character work was still done very, very well. but altogether it just felt like a different book. I see. Like, I can't argue with that, to be honest. By the way, what do you think about the way the book ended? Let's just say I enjoyed the journey way more than I enjoyed the destination. Fair enough. I can see where you're coming from.
Your acting sucks.
I enjoyed the journey way more. Basically, book 1, book 2, and book 3 are all good. A little bit different, but good all the same. And I would recommend that you read all 3 books. The story is worth it. I think it was Dan Brown on one of his master classes on writing. He said that when you want to introduce something new to the world, you have to use the person whose perspective would have been the most interesting. You have to create the narrative around that perspective, that POV. So that he used other characters to build other aspects of the world, to add more details, to add more colors. Now, while book 1 was a masterpiece and basically like a show off on how well he does character development, character establishment, and character grounding as well, book 2 was a masterclass in how to build worlds with the right perspectives, with the right POV. But you see, the crazy thing is that there's still more to be said about this book. By the end of the book, Valen was not my favorite character. That is one of the reasons I tell you that you need to read all 3 books, because the character work is still very exemplary. Something else that Anthony Ryan is so good at is battle scenes. I really enjoyed the battle scenes, especially how it worked with the magic system. It wasn't really explained, and even when it's kind of explained, there's still a very mystical air to it. I feel like I might have a slight preference towards soft magic systems. I like my magic feeling mysterious, and I feel like he did it very well in book 1, but I did not like the way it was used in book 2 and book 3, how the importance and the use of it kept fluctuating. It just didn't feel consistent enough for me to fall in love with it like other aspects of the book. And something else that Anthony Ryan did very well was foreshadowing. He'll say things that would stay on the periphery of that line between your subconscious and your conscious mind, and then when the payoff comes, it's always so rewarding, because when those things were mentioned, they were just like right there to pick up again. From a writer's perspective, it was so interesting to read this book, because I kept wondering to myself, why am I getting such a strong emotional reaction at this moment and at that moment, when usually those moments in other books don't really do that much for me. If you enjoyed this review, you should check out my last review, Aching God. That one was a gosh review. The animation for that one as well is dope, so check it out. Don't forget to stay epic. Peace.